Okay, everyone, today I want to discuss a topic that is absolutely driving me crazy. For it is written that we perish because of lack of knowledge. And lack of knowledge is one word for that, and that's ignorance. That's all it means. Ignorance is a tough word, but all it means is lack of knowledge. And so in order to get rid of ignorance, we have to fill it with information and knowledge. And not just any knowledge, the right knowledge. And so there's a statement that's been going around and people abuse this statement so much, but I believe that we need to be educated in this area so we will not continue to say it out of context. And that statement is, we don't supposed to judge. Okay, how many times have you heard that? I mean, I've heard it 1,000 times, especially in this past week with the Supreme Court passing the law on same-sex marriage. I have heard we shouldn't judge too many times. And so I found it to be very vitally important to share with you today this point. Yes, we're supposed to judge. And yes, we don't supposed to judge. Now, I know that may sound crazy and sounds like an oxymoron, but when you say we don't supposed to judge, it's actually a true but half-true statement. Yes, there's a type of judgment that we don't supposed to do, and God talks about this in the Bible in Luke when he says we should not condemn people. This type of judgment where we condemn and put people down, that's a judgment that God wants us to stay away from. However, there's another type of judgment that he wants us to participate in a regular basis because it protects us. And that is a judgment where we judge what is right and what is wrong. God has said to us in the Bible that we ought to come out from among them and be ye separate. How can you come out from among somebody if you don't judge them righteously to declare if the behavior that they're performing is right or if it's wrong, if it's something that you should be around or if it's something you shouldn't be around? When you, like, say for instance, if you first met me and I met you at work and we were hanging around, we got along well, and then one day I invited you to my home. And then when you came to my home, there was a lot of people there. And some of the people over here was smoking weed. Over here they was smoking crack. Others were gambling. Others were in the bathroom having sex. In that moment, right there, you have to make a judgment call about me, about who I am, just because of the company that I keep. Not only that, you have to judge if this is an environment that you should stay in. Is this a healthy environment? Is this one somewhere where I want to be found? Is this somewhere that I should be? Is this safe for me? And so when you make that judgment, you're actually making a righteous judgment, and that judgment protects you. That judgment keeps you safe from harm. That judgment keeps you out of environments that will cause you to be influenced by things you shouldn't be influenced by. That's a righteous judgment. If you found out that your child's friend, their father was on the sexual offenders list, if you found out, even though for the last 5 years your child has been spending the night over their house, their child has been spending the night over your house, and then you look up on the sexual offenders list and you find that Mr. Johnson, your son's best friend, or your daughter's best friend is on the sexual offenders list. Now, you got to ask yourself, what are you going to do? Well, I'm going to flat out tell you what I'm going to do. The first thing I'm going to do, and I know you're going to do it too, is you're going to hurry up and you're going to sit your child down and you're going to ask them this very important question. You're going to say, sweetheart, did Mr. Johnson ever touch you? Was he ever in the bathroom with you? Did he ever pull down your pants? Did Mr. Johnson ever touch you in an inappropriate way? Why would you ask that question? Because you just found out something bad about Mr. Johnson. And now you got to ask yourself, are you going to let your child go back to spend the night over Mr. Johnson's house? Now, come on now. I'm a parent of 4, and I know many of you have your own children. And if you be honest with yourself, you would say, my child is not going back down to Mr. Johnson's house. I know mine wouldn't. Why? Because it is our job to protect our children. And right then and there, you're going to make a judgment about Mr. Johnson. Whether he's been delivered from that, whether it happened 20 years or it happened 5 years, it doesn't matter. What you're not going to do is put your kids in harm's way. Because you know Mr. Johnson has a record and has some type of behavior, sexual dysfunctional behavior, that you don't want your child to be abused by. So in that moment, you make a judgment call. Not to condemn Mr. Johnson, but to protect your child and to protect yourself. Because I know for many of you, if someone touched your child, Lord knows what you would do. So judgment, yes, we ought to judge, but no, we ought not to condemn. I'm Toy Banks, and I agree with God without apology. Whatever he said is right, and whatever he says and declare that is wrong, is wrong. And so I have a right to judge if your behavior is righteous or if it is wrong. I'm Toy Banks, in for Better Wife, Better Life, helping you balance it all.